Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm reviewing the Samsung Odyssey G5 34-inch ultrawide monitor. The 32-inch Samsung G5 videos I've done on the channel have been some of my more popular ones, and for good reason. The Odyssey G5 series is more affordable than the G7 or G9, as Samsung has swapped out the top-tier panels and extras like RGB lighting, while still keeping some of the aesthetics of the mold and the big draw, which is the 1000R curve. But does this 34-inch ultrawide follow in its G5 siblings' footsteps as an affordable 1440p high refresh rate monitor? After trying this monitor out for the past week, I have a mixed bag of good and bad things I've come to notice about it, but before we go down that rabbit hole, let's start off with the specs. The Samsung G5 34-inch ultrawide is a 1440p 165Hz VA panel with a 1000R curve, which allows for better viewing angles compared to other curved monitors with less radius or flat panels. I tried to make sure I filmed this with various backgrounds, games, and angles to showcase the curve, viewing angles, color, and brightness. The panel has a 1 millisecond MPRT response time, FreeSync Premium, and HDR. This has 250 nit brightness, a 2500:1 static contrast ratio, a mega dynamic contrast ratio, and the DCI P3 color scale is 95%. The monitor supports picture-by-picture, dynamic brightness, and an eye saver mode. This has one HDMI 2.0 port, one DP 1.4 port, and an audio input. There's also a USB port for updating the monitor's firmware. The mold is all plastic, including the stand, which can only tilt -2 to 18 degrees, and on the back you'll find the 75mm by 75mm VESA mount openings. This costs $599, but has been discounted to $549 for a couple of weeks now, so you might be able to catch it on a sale. So now that I've covered the specs, let's talk about the things that I like about this monitor. The first thing will be the most obvious, which is the 1000R curve. At 34 inches and a 21:9 aspect ratio, this curve just makes more sense. Having used both the 32-inch G5 and G7, the curve is nice in that size, but doesn't fully take advantage of it in my opinion. I think the ultimate size available would be the 49-inch G9, but this G5 ultrawide gets close to that without needing to pay $1,200 to $1,500. The curve just feels more natural, and I hope other brands take note. I've used 1800 and 1500R curved ultrawides, and this feels the most comfortable on my eyes by far. Gaming looks and feels great, and editing with the extra width and curve feels more natural than other panels I've used. Next, the 165Hz works great for me, and this appears to have less ghosting than the 32-inch G5, and supports G-Sync compatibility, although it's not officially certified, but I personally don't notice a difference with it turned on or off. Now that's not to say it doesn't have ghosting, because it does, but until I get the proper testing set up, I won't be able to fully showcase that as I want to. So this is really just from what I'm seeing while doing the UFO test and playing games. Like the other G5 models, I think the aesthetics of the mold are really nice and it fits the Odyssey line well. The one menu button on the bottom of the screen is easy to use, and I prefer this over the multiple buttons that I find with other panels. The menu itself is the same found on all of the other Odyssey monitors and is my favorite monitor menu to date. It's simple and easy to use. And lastly, the picture mode presets aren't horrible, they're actually decent. I don't think everybody's going to want to use them and you'll probably want to go custom, but they're decent enough that I think some people will probably use their presets, which is nice to see because most panels that's just not the case. So now that I've covered what I like about this monitor, let's talk about what I don't like. So this is where this gets a little tricky, because this panel still seems haunted by the lower brightness and color of the other models, but with a higher price point. This makes whites look more off-white and colors can look washed out at times. Tweaking your settings can help, but it's still noticeable. I'll showcase my current panel and NVIDIA settings now to help anyone as a starting point, but I typically tweak this over a month period until I find my sweet spot, so keep in mind you'll still need to adjust it, and this is merely meant as a starting point for you. The G5 ultrawide costs substantially more than its $369 and $299 siblings at a price point of $599 with a current discounted price of $549. So I think the higher price point warrants better nits and color than the other models. It seems odd that it would still be suffering from some of the same issues while costing 1.5 to 2 times as much. At this price point, I would have liked to see not only better brightness and color, but also an adjustable stand. The plastic stand seems even more unstable with the larger screen than my 32-inch model. And if AOC and MSI can have a 34-inch ultrawide with fully adjustable stands at under $500, then there's no reason for Samsung not to have it with their $600 monitor. The MSI ultrawide even has RGB lighting on it, and the AOC, while it doesn't have lights, does come with extra USB ports. So again, for $600, I would have liked to have seen those extras with this. A quick side note, the stand is actually hard to attach and more specifically to detach from the panel. Also, if you get this, I do recommend investing in some type of VESA mount, which is what I have with my monitor. It just is easier to deal with than this stand, which also sits quite low. So if you're tall, it may be an issue with trying to get a good viewing angle with this. Next, a downside of the curve is potential text morphing, which I personally don't notice much at all, but it does seem like my taskbar bends away from me instead of towards me at my viewing distance, which of course is an optical illusion, but it can feel strange when looking at it sometimes. And finally, the HDR is a waste, as it's supported, but due to the lack of local dimming, high brightness, and wide color gamut, you're not getting a noteworthy HDR viewing experience. It looks okay in Doom Eternal after getting the settings to my liking, but it's still not true HDR. You can't even enable 10-bit color in the NVIDIA control panel, you have to enable it in Windows. And the menu for the panel itself doesn't include a way to enable this either. So it just seems like Samsung wanted to throw HDR as a buzzword to catch people's eye, but this isn't massively supported in games, and although I'm sure some people will still use it, I think most people won't mess with it at all. Now, of course, I could be messing something up, which is why I'm not finding the 10-bit color in the NVIDIA control panel, and if that's the case, let me know in the comment section. I did email the company though to confirm certain settings that I wasn't finding on their website, and this is what they sent back to me. Color gamut, DCI coverage, typical 95%, minimum 88%, brightness, 250 nits, HDR10 and nits, 250 CD/M2, panel type is LCM/LED/BLU/VA. sRGB coverage of the sRGB color space on CIE 1931XY when it matters. Almost all content includes websites, standard Windows environment, and SDR movies. Good value, greater than 95%, noticeable difference. 5% Adobe RGB. Coverage of the Adobe RGB color space on CIE 1931XY. When it matters, professional photography. Good value, greater than 90%. Noticeable difference, 5%. So based on the information they sent me, I'm not 100% sure if those numbers are the sRGB and Adobe sRGB scale for this panel, as their wording is throwing me off. I do know the DCI P3 color gamut covers more of the color spectrum than sRGB, as the sRGB covers just over a third, while DCI P3 comes close to about half of the human color sensitivity. If anyone has more information on this and can pass it along, let me know in the comment section. That would be greatly appreciated. So in conclusion, is this monitor worth it? Personally, I think it's overpriced, as there's better options under $500 like the AOC and MSI monitors mentioned, with adjustable stands, better coloring, and extra USB ports, specifically with the AOC. But those monitors don't have the 1000R curve, and I think ultimately that's the major draw here, and the curve is pretty cool, so I find myself stuck between two voices arguing about this monitor. It's overpriced, come on, you know it is. Yeah, but the 1000R curve. Only tilt, bro? No RGB lighting? I mean, what are you getting for $600? The 1000R curve, bro. Also, who is this guy? And why are we sitting on his shoulders? It's where we live now, because we spent $600 on this monitor. You may have spent $600, I paid $550, so whatever, bro. So ultimately, the choice is yours, and I hope this video provides some info to help with your purchase. I'll have links for this along with those other monitors in the description. If there's anything I didn't cover, let me know in the comment section and I'll make sure I answer that question for you. I know I'll get some about the new consoles for this monitor, and as far as I know, they don't support native 21:9 aspect ratio at the moment, so I wouldn't get this monitor for consoles. If you liked the video, hit the like button for me, and if you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me, and as always, thanks so much for watching.